But for now, I want to go to the bitter clash today at the United Nations that exposed just how deep the standoff is between the West and Russia over a growing crisis that could lead to war. Now, for the first time, the UN Security Council discussed Russia's massive troop buildup around Ukraine and what should be done about it. The US called the situation urgent and dangerous, insisting, quote, "We cannot just wait and see if Russia will back down."
If Russia further invades Ukraine, none of us will be able to say we didn't see it coming. And the consequences will be horrific, which is why this meeting is so important today. What would it mean for the world if former empires had license to start reclaiming territory by force? This would set us down a dangerous path.
Well, Russia's UN ambassador presented a very different version of reality and said he didn't even understand what they were discussing today. He said Russia is not planning any attack, accusing the West of being the true aggressor.
Western colleagues are talking about the need for de-escalation. However, first and foremost, they themselves are whipping up tensions and rhetoric and are provoking escalation. The discussions about a threat of war is provocative in and of itself. You are almost calling for this. You want it to happen. You're waiting for it to happen, as if you want to make your words become a reality.
Well, CNN's U.S. security correspondent Kylie Atwood is at the United Nations, and our international diplomatic editor Nick Robertson joins us from Moscow. Good to have you both with us. I'll start with you first, Kylie. We just heard from the Russian ambassador, of course, speaking at the UN, claiming that it's the West whipping up the tension, the rhetoric, the hysteria, as he called it, and predictably, again, denying that there's no plans to carry out any sort of military invasion.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the key word that you use there is predictable. This is the kind of language that we have heard from Russian officials over the last few weeks, saying there's really nothing to see here. Today, the Russian ambassador to the UN saying that this is a bogus narrative, that they have any plans to invade Ukraine, saying that the United States is drumming up hysteria, trying to get all nations worried about something that isn't going to happen, denying that they have this 100,000 troops along the border with Ukraine. Of course, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations came out after this meeting and said that the U.S. didn't get the answers that they wanted from Russia in this meeting, that this was an opportunity for them to explain what was happening here. But of course, the Russians didn't explain it because they just denied that it was occurring at all. Now, the U.S. hopes that this is some path forward because they're hoping that the Kremlin sees that there were a bunch of other countries who sided with the United States in condemning what Russia is doing here, in siding with Ukraine and saying that they should feel comfortable within their own borders, and hoping that the Kremlin sees that and sees that it's not just the United States, but it's other countries who are backing opposition that the United States has here, and that may be something that could push forward diplomacy. But right now, it's very clear that these divisions are even perhaps more divided than they were going into this meeting.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Nick, I want to get your take on how Russia presented itself today at the United Nations, because we heard that the Russia ambassador saying there's no proof that we're planning any sort of military action, even though there is some 120,000 troops on Ukraine's border, even though it's carrying out military exercises in neighboring Belarus. And instead, Russia essentially put it back on the US, saying you have more troops deployed overseas.
Yeah, I mean, we did get a better read on the number of troops. The Ukrainian ambassador saying that it was 130,000 around Ukraine. That was 112,000 troops and about 18,000 maritime and air force. And the U.S. ambassador said that there were 30,000 more expected to be coming to Belarus near the Ukrainian border in Belarus. So we got a better sense of the figures. But yes, I mean, what we saw today was the Russian ambassador say, you're turning this around on us. It's all you. You're creating the tensions. the hysteria, escalating the situation. We're only there to do our military training that we have a right to do. It's our sovereign territory. Belarus did have Russia did have one friend at the table there. That was the Belarus ambassador. No surprise there. But Belarus sort of stands in the same place as Russia at the moment, that it too will likely be hit by sanctions if its territory is used to invade Ukraine. But we're just not hearing a backing down in the Russian position. And I think perhaps the Ukrainian ambassador defined it fairly well when he said that that the Russian ambassador was essentially being a little bit like one of his favorite authors. The Ukrainian ambassador said that in Moscow, one of the favorite authors for officials is Lewis Carroll, and he was talking about quoting one of the characters there, saying, you know, I can use any word I want and it means roughly more or less what I want it to mean, about some of the differences there. But I think the broader analysis of, you know, an Alice through the looking glass scenario where Russia is portraying the situation in the reverse to how almost everyone else around that table sees it. And that's how far apart everyone is. The ground is not shifting at the moment.
Yeah, they don't agree on the facts as they stand. I just want to go back to you, Kylie, because the US, of course, pushed for this Security Council meeting today before Russia takes over the presidency at the Security Council tomorrow. What will that change mean going forward as this crisis continues?
Well, when Russia assumes the presidency tomorrow, that's just for a month. So that's for the month of February. Of course, it's a critical month that they're assuming this position. But it doesn't mean that they are going to direct the discussion so that it can't include certain things. They won't be able to reject further meetings on the Russia-Ukraine crisis if the majority of the nations at the table want to have that discussion. But what the Russians can do over the next month is put things on the agenda that they do want to cover. And so what diplomats are saying is that they expect Russia is going to put some things, you know, on the agenda that are seen as distractors from what is happening along the Ukraine-Russia border, and try and, you know, get eyes on that to divert from this crisis that they don't want to talk about.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there for now. Kylie Atwood for us at the United Nations. Nick Robertson in Moscow. Thanks both to you.